Game of Thrones broke something in us. Not just our trust in HBO, it broke something deeper. It shattered our ability to get fully invested in Targaryen's story without a quiet voice in the back of our heads whispering, they're gonna mess this up. And here we are with House of Dragon Season 3 premiering this summer, and that voice is louder than ever. So let's ask the question nobody wants to sit with. Is Season 3 destined to fail? Not fail in the sense that it won't get watched. HBO has already renewed the show for a 4th and final season, so the suits clearly have faith. But culturally, emotionally, can this show still grab people the way it once did? Because there's a very real argument that House of Dragon has been walking towards a cliff since Season 2 aired, and Season 3 might be the moment it finally goes over the edge. Let's go back to the beginning. When House of Dragon launched in 2022, it did something Game of Thrones hadn't done in years. It made people care. The political machinery of the first season was intricate and deliberate. King Viserys naming his daughter Rhaenyra as heir to the Iron Throne rather than his brother Daemon or his son Aegon, which set the entire civil war into motion before a single sword was drawn. The tragedy was slow burning and earned. You had Alicent Hightower, once Rhaenyra's closest companion, gradually becoming her most formidable rival, not through villainy, but through misunderstanding and ambition colliding across years. The show's most elegant moment came when Viserys, on his deathbed, muttered about the prophecy of the prince that was promised, the very prophecy that runs through the whole of Game of Thrones lore, and Alicent, mishearing him, interpreted it as her husband's dying wish to place their son Aegon on the throne. An entire war born from a single misheard sentence. That's stunning writing. Then came the finale. Aemon Targaryen's dragon Vhagar tearing Lucerys' Valerion and his dragon Arrax apart over Shipbreaker's Bay. It was shocking, chaotic, and genuinely affecting. The civil war known as the Dance of the Dragons had begun. Audiences were in. Season 1 pulled in 9.9 million viewers on its streaming premiere. People were back in Westeros, and they were invested. Season 2 had every ingredient to be magnificent. The opening scene of its premiere, blood and cheese infiltrating the Red Keep and murdering Prince Jaehaerys, Aegon II's young son, in front of his mother Helaena, was harrowing and bold. A son for a son. The war had turned savage and personal. This was exactly the escalation fans had been waiting for. And then the season spent 6 episodes watching Daemon hallucinate at Harrenhal. To be clear, the Harrenhal arc wasn't without merit. The imagery was eerie, and Matt Smith is a magnetic presence. But when your most charismatic character is quarantined in a castle having fever dreams for the majority of a condensed 8-episode season, you have a structural problem. Fans noticed. One of the most common complaints during the last season's run was that Daemon was spending the whole season in an Airbnb, as one post put it, and contributing almost nothing to the war raging around him. The season's only genuine highlight for me was episode 4, The Red Dragon and the Gold, in which Rhaenys and a dragon Meleys clashed with Aegon and Aemond over the fields of Rook's Rest. Meleys was killed, Aegon was badly wounded, Aemond and the gargantuan Vhagar emerged victorious. It was visceral, chaotic, and exactly the kind of spectacle the show exists to deliver, but it was surrounded by episodes that stalled, circled, and deferred gratification to the point of exhaustion. And the numbers reflected the audience's frustration. The season 2 premiere drew only 1.3 million viewers on the night compared to season 1's 2.3 million. The broader streaming audience has shrunk from 9.9 million to 7.8 million. That's not a minor dip. That is a show hemorrhaging momentum. The finale compounded the damage. Viewers had waited 2 years for season 2, only to receive 8 episodes instead of 10. A season that largely ended where it started, and a cliffhanger designed to hold the real payoffs for season 3. One fan's furious post captured the mood precisely. Taking 2 years between seasons and then delivering a truncated run that doesn't significantly advance the story is, in their words, an insult. Even George R.R. Martin publicly aired his grievances, writing on his blog, "They did not look forward to posting about everything that's gone wrong with House of Dragon." When the author of your source material is that publicly uncomfortable with the adaptation, something has gone badly off course. Here's where it gets more complicated, because season 2's failure wasn't entirely the writer's fault. There is a structural problem baked into the very DNA of the House of Dragon, and no showrunner can fully escape it. We already know how this ends. Not in the vague sequels are hard sense. We know we're specificity. Game of Thrones established that by the time Daenerys Targaryen arrived in the world, dragons are extinct. The Targaryens have been stripped of the Iron Throne, the dynasty that House of Dragon presents to us at full power, with dozens of dragons, a seemingly unshakable grip on Westeros, and generations of blood-riding, fire-breathing weapons of war, is already rubble by the time Jon Snow is born. The Dance of the Dragons, the civil war at the heart of the show, is the moment the decline begins, and their specific outcome is brutal. The dragons kill each other, the Great Vhagar, Aemon's terrifying weapon and the largest living dragon in the world, will die in combat with Daemon's Caraxes over the God's Eye Lake. Most of the other dragons perish in the war as well. By its conclusion, what was once the Targaryens' most spectacular advantage had been reduced to almost nothing. The generation of dragons killed each other off. And Rhaenyra? The character the show spent 2 seasons positioning as its emotional core, the woman we followed from a headstrong young princess to a queen at war, does not win. She loses everything. She is captured and Aegon II feeds her to his wounded dragon Sunfire. Her son watches it happen. None of this is a spoiler in the traditional sense. This is established in Game of Thrones lore, documented in the history Tyrion Lannister reads about, referenced in Joffrey's own cruelty at King's Landing. It was always going to end this way. The question is, can a show sustain true dramatic tension when its audiences know not just the destination, but that the destination is total devastation for the protagonist? Game of Thrones worked partly because the outcome was uncertain. House of the Dragon is asking you to watch a tragedy unfold in precise detail, and it needs extraordinary character work and momentum to make that journey worth taking. Season 2 did not provide that, and Season 3 wanted to do something exceptional to recover. So here's the honest answer. The ingredients are there. The battle that was cut from Season 2's finale due to budget constraints has been moved to Season 3, meaning the season opens with the large-scale confrontation audiences have been waiting for. Lord Ormond Hightower joins the war on the green side, played by James Norton. The blacks and the greens are now in open, all-out conflict. The war is no longer slow burning, it is an inferno. Showrunner Ryan Condal has already turned in episodes to HBO, who reportedly called them very strong. Season 4, the final season, has already been commissioned, which means the creative team now knows exactly how much runway they have. That clarity can sharpen storytelling considerably, and at a fundamental level, Season 3 covers the height of the dance, the bloodiest, most dramatic stretch of the entire conflict. If the show can match its spectacle to its character work, this could be the season that redeems everything. But here's the counter-argument, and it's a serious one. The audience trust that was bled away by Season 2 doesn't come back automatically. 2 years between seasons is a long time to sustain investment, particularly when the season before left people cold. The cultural conversation has moved on, and unlike Game of Thrones, where each season brought narrative surprises and genuine uncertainty about who would survive, House of Dragon is asking audiences to re-engage with a story whose ending is already written in the history books of its own universe. Season 3 can be a technically accomplished, emotionally engaging piece of television, and still fail to recapture the cultural moments that Season 1 briefly created. House of Dragon Season 3 is not going to be bad. It may well be the best season the show has produced. The war is at its peak, the stakes are at their highest, and the production team is clearly motivated to prove that Season 2's missteps were correctable. But it carries a weight that no amount of dragon fire can burn away. It's a prequel built on a tragedy, following a protagonist we know will be devoured, in a franchise whose audience had their faith shattered by an ending that still stings years later. The show isn't just competing with its own quality, it's competing with grief, with habit, with the lingering cynicism of a fanbase that learned the hard way not to get too attached. Season 3 might earn its place as one of the finest things HBO has made in years. Whether that's enough to make people care again, that's the question nobody on the production team can answer. The dragons are coming. The question is whether anyone's still watching when they arrive. If you want more video essays on television that actually dig beneath the surface, the storytelling, the failures, the moments of genuine brilliance, subscribe to Twisted Television. New videos every week, and we don't pull punches.